Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Board, with some Raiders news that y'all need to know today, plus some of the notes that I received over the weekend. I'm not going to lie, there was a lot of college basketball. A lot of people I reached out to over the weekend were like, dude, watch some games, have a good time. So not huge updates here today, but there is one thing that every single Raider fan needs to know about today, and I'm going to talk about what that is. The top of the thing is Christian Elliss. And if some of y'all are wondering, Mitch, do we have Christian Elliss? What is there to need to know about him? I'm going to tell you what that one is today. I got some interesting Big 12 Pro Day notes from the Chat Sports team and some other people that the Chat Sports team talked about, which could potentially impact the Raiders. And then two extension candidates that these are names that I've talked about before, but I've heard those two names yet again over the weekend, and it could be something that the Raiders are ultimately trying to work on. If you're looking for Raiders news every single day, make sure you click that subscribe button. Make sure you turn on those notifications. I've been waiting for a Geno contract extension. I've been waiting for more Raiders signings, but I'm not going to lie. It was kind of nice over the weekend being able to just watch a bunch of college basketball games. Hopefully your brackets are all doing okay. All right, so for those that don't remember, the Raiders last week signed former Patriots linebacker Christian Elliss to a contract. And the reason why this one was interesting is because New England essentially put him at $3.3 million. The Raiders needed to be able to respond. The Raiders went out and they responded. They signed him to a one-year, $4.8 million deal. New England has until today, 4 p.m. Eastern time, to basically say, I want to be able to match that offer or ultimately give Ellis a bigger offer. The reason why that I just don't see this happening is not only did the Patriots sign Robert Spillane, they also brought back Gibbons, or added Gibbons, excuse me. So that's two linebackers that kind of play the exact same role that Christian Elliss would probably play for New England. So because of that, I do not see it essentially end up happening. I would imagine by today, 4 p.m. Eastern time, Christian Elliss is an official Raider. You're going to get the notification. You're going to get the pop-up that it ends up happening. I do find this to be a good move, and I think one of the things that, we always say money talks, and Raiders really value the flexibility, the versatility, and I think the growth that they see in somebody like Ellis. And I said it last week where, honestly, when you kind of look at the skill set of Ellis, you pair him with somebody like a Landon Roberts, and it's a really good linebacker duo for a team that runs a lot of two linebacker sets, and that's what this team and organization, I believe, is going to do. So 4 p.m. Eastern time, Christian Elliss will officially be a Raider unless New England offers that match, but I would be shocked if it ended up happening. And, that's us, not me. I reached out to some of our Patriots people here at Chat Sports, and even them, they were like, yeah, I don't really think it's going to end up happening. So that puts us then, the next question I've been getting asked a lot this weekend was, Mitch, what's the Raiders salary cap at? And I hate to give answers like this, but when you look at Overthecap, they have it as $50.6 million. But then when you look at Spytek, they have it at $32 million, right? So I understand that there's a lot of confusion in that regard. From what I see, just looking at it real quick, the Christian Wilkins restructured, I do not see in Spytek. It is in Overthecap. Also, though, there's no Raheem Mostert, there's no Darnay Holmes, there's no Zach Carter contract either on Overthecap, but everything else looks like it's in there. And I think that there's probably some correct answer between a little bit of both of them, which if I had to guess right now, you're probably somewhere around $46 million in salary cap space. And I know a lot of y'all, which, even like me, are wondering, all right, are we about to add another receiver? Are we about to add a little bit more pieces? Because though I do like what the Raiders have done this offseason, they haven't done a lot recently, and it almost makes me wonder, are they preparing for something else? So one of the people that I reached out to over the weekend, and I was saying, like, hey, man, like, what's happening exactly with this Geno contract? Are the Raiders looking at anybody? And essentially he told me two names. And the two names are two names that I've talked about before for a contract extension. It was Jakobi Meyers and it was Kolton Miller. Both players don't have any guaranteed money left on their contract after the season. Both players are going to be free agents in 2026. If I was Geno Smith and I was sitting here going, well, I got 1 year right now, and it's tied with Jakobi, it's tied with Kolton Miller, I would be a little bit concerned if you wanted to give me a brand new deal. And, some of y'all are going to roll your eyes like, Mitch, they're going to pay him $40 to $45 million per year. You're not wrong at all. Like, that's what Geno Smith is going to end up getting. But also at the same time, I can understand Geno not wanting to sign a contract extension unless he knows, who's going to be protecting my blind side, left tackle. Who's going to be my number one receiver? Because, let's be honest with ourselves. No Kolton Miller, no Jakobi Meyers. this destination is not a very desirable destination. So I do wonder if the Raiders right now behind closed doors, because again, the two names that were thrown out to me this weekend, these are guys that you could actually get a contract extension, maybe even before Geno. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I do think that you will see this offseason an extension of Jakobi Meyers, an extension of Kolton Miller, and you're going to see an extension of Geno Smith. And I do think that all three of those guys are going to be kind of tied together a little bit, but they're also going to be a part of the long-term plan, right? Like when the Raiders brought back Adam Butler, I said 3 years. That's an important number because of Pete Carroll's contract, because of his out clause. I think that you could see something also very similar with, a Geno Smith, Jakobi Meyers, Kolton Miller, where Jakobi's probably going to get 2-year extension. I can see Kolton Miller getting a 2-year extension, throwing in some guarantees, ties them to Pete Carroll for 3 years essentially, and then also Geno's probably going to look at getting a 2 to 3 year extension. So here's my question, and it's going to be the pinned comment on today's show. If you could pick one to extend first, are you going to extend Jakobi Meyers, or are you going to extend Kolton Miller? My answer is going to be coming up after this YouTube ad break. The reason why I'm going to say Jakobi Meyers, and I think it's going to surprise some people out there, but the reason why I'm going to say Jakobi Meyers is because, to me, in my mind, if the Raiders want to go out and they want to get an offensive lineman at 6, they're going to be able to do it. Not that they're not going to be able to get somebody in Patriots McMillan at wide receiver, but in my mind, I would go, what gives the Raiders a better chance to win? A Will Campbell, Armin Membu with Jakobi Meyers, or do I think it's somebody like a Patriots McMillan and then me finding a brand new offensive tackle if Kolton Miller isn't happy? Like, to me, I am a believer if you want the best version of Geno, you got to make sure that he's protected there in the pocket. And Miller did struggle with some injuries, and he struggled with some injuries over the past 2 seasons. But at the end of the year, he was playing his best football. And he could still play at a very high level. And he's also the right type of dude that you want in that locker room that a lot of people rally behind. And, he's been a part of that Raiders organization. You got to go all the way back since 2018, UCLA, right? So he didn't have any overlap with Chip. Chip got to UCLA in 2018. But I do think that little stuff might matter to this organization. But if it was up to me, though, you got to get both of these deals done based off some of the stuff that I've heard. Kolton Miller, Jakobi Meyers, going to be 2 contract extensions that we'll probably revisit this week, next week, and just keep your eyes out on it because Geno's not the only extension I think that this organization is working on. Let's go up to the next thing here. We're going to talk about Geno Smith. I did get a number thrown at me, which again, the people that I talk to are people that are very close to the organization, but also, like they're football heads. They go off of some of the stuff that they hear. They go off of some of the stuff that they're being told. I was told over the weekend that a number to consider for Geno is 3 years, $125 million. I did not get any guarantees on that number. The number that I threw out the other day on my Raiders Report show was I did 2 for 90 with, I want to say it was like 48 or 53 guaranteed. I think it was 48 or it doesn't matter. But then the other number that I threw out was 3 years, $130 million based on some of the contracts, and I forget what the guarantees were on that, but that video was on the Raiders Report last week. So the fact that the number that I got told over the weekend was 3 for 125, and the number when I did my mental math and crunched out the numbers the other day on the show was 3 for 130, that could be maybe a little bit of a ballpark that the Raiders are looking at for Geno Smith. The final thing that I want to talk about here is some interesting notes that I heard from Big 12 Pro Day. Again, we sent out some members of the Chat Sports team. Before I tell you what those are, is everyone's bracket doing all right? The Florida game was making me sweat the other day. The Houston Cougars look really good. Duke was out there absolutely balling, but man, oh man, that Florida game, I had Florida picked in the Chat Sports, or no, I had Florida in my family March Madness bracket. That was a close game. Really, really close game. Also, BYU, they look freaking legit, man. All right, so here's some interesting notes that we got from Big 12 Pro Day. First one is the Raiders had an informal meeting with Texas Tech offensive lineman Caleb Rogers, and he's somebody that's got a C on his chest. He's somebody that's got a lot of versatility to him. He's played left tackle, right tackle. He's played some guard spots before. He can do a lot of different things. So that one is kind of interesting to me. Some of the people that I talked to, based on when he could be taken, I heard as early as round 2, which that's a little bit early for me. I've heard as early as, round 3, day 3 pick. And another offensive lineman that the Raiders ended up meeting with was BYU offensive tackle Caleb Etienne, who, if you like projects, you're going to love ETN because he's like 6'8", 325, 320 pounds. He's a monster, but he's got a lot of work that needs to be done. And I don't want to say, like, he looks like he kind of reminds me of a more polished version of a Dalton Wagner from an upside standpoint, because Wagner is way better in the run game. ETN, I'm going to be real, kind of sucks in the run game. So maybe you're kind of hoping that he could get that together. But pass protection, like, you can at least tell that he's got some goods there that you're gonna be able to work with. But the reason why I brought up Dalton Wagner's name is because when you saw Wagner out on the field, again, Arkansas guy, 6'8", 300 plus pounds, everyone was like, oh, like, this guy could be good. I'm worried that ETN might fall in a very similar boat, as he looks like an incredible offensive lineman, but he doesn't quite get it done. Where you got a guy like DJ Glaze who showed you improvement at the end of last season and might not look like your prototypical offensive tackle, but ends up being able to get the job done. Honestly, when I look at DJ Glaze, I do see a lot of Jermaine Illuminor of not really what you think of when you think of offensive tackle, but you know what? The guy goes out there and he does a pretty damn good job. Next thing, so again, the fact that the Raiders are meeting with those offensive linemen, I still think that there is an opportunity that the Raiders go out and they draft a tackle early. Like, it's what John Spytek has done. Pete Carroll, maybe not always, but he's always valued the trenches. For a guy like Spytek, I'm telling y'all, offensive line, offensive tackle is still in the realm of possibility early in the 2025 NFL draft. The final note that I have here is an interesting one, and it was in regards to Shiloh Sanders. So I had multiple people tell me from Big 12 Pro Day. One of the sources told me how immature and how undraftable they thought he was, which I'm not going to lie, kind of broke my heart, because I've watched the Deion Sanders show and on like HBO Max. I think it's on Max. Alex and I have so many different ones. But I always thought Shiloh, was a very good young man, had his head on his shoulders, like in the right way. But the fact that I didn't have just one, I didn't have just two, I had three different people tell me that people should be concerned about Shiloh, and a very over-glaring Shiloh Sanders rubbed a lot of people the wrong way from Big 12. I had one person tell me, quote, who does this guy think he is? And, I understand that there's going to be a lot of concentration around the Sanders family. Deion's going to get the limelight. Shador's going to get the limelight. And maybe Shiloh thought also he was going to get some limelight, because here's another quote that somebody from Big 12 Pro Day told me, that Shiloh said that he didn't feel like he had to interview because, quote, I'm not in the Big 12 anymore. I'm in the league. Like, when you have a player that's probably going to be a round 7 pick, somebody who doesn't get invited to the NFL Combine, like, you want somebody that you can add as a special teamer, somebody that you can add as a good glue guy, somebody that you can add as a really good piece to your locker room. Based off on the notes that I got from Big 12 Pro Day, and, I've been asked, obviously, about Shiloh because we've been asked a lot about Shador. I'm telling you this right now, based on some of the stuff that I've heard from Big 12 Pro Day and based on just my eyeballs of Shiloh, I don't want any part of him on this Raiders team. And I hope that, the Raiders kind of do their due diligence. I know Tom Brady's got a very close relationship with the Sanders family, but I am way more concerned on what I heard about Shiloh from over the weekend from Big 12 Pro Day compared to what I heard him before and what I initially thought. But when you get a guy that's going in the 7th round getting notes like that on him, I'm sorry, that is concerning. All right, y'all, I'm getting ready to hop on out of here. You're going to get another video from me a little bit later on today. That one will have all the graphics from Chugs and I. And then you'll get another one bright and early tomorrow. For those that don't know, we will be live 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific tomorrow on the Raiders Report. But the big news to keep an eye out for today, Christian Elliss, will he be a Raider, officially official by 4 p.m. Eastern Time today? I would imagine that it does end up going down. Again, would be very shocked if it didn't. If it does, if the Patriots do end up matching, you're going to get another video from me regardless. If they don't end up matching, you'll probably just get something from me that says it's officially official. For even more videos around the Las Vegas Raiders, make sure you click that subscribe button right here. I promise you, I'm going to keep you up to date. If you're looking for even more content around the silver and black, YouTube sometimes suggests videos that they believe that you're going to like. Maybe it's this one here, or maybe they think that you're going to enjoy this video here. At the end of the day, if you're a diehard Raiders fan watching a video this early in the morning, I think that I'm going to be the right channel for you. Let me prove it to you by clicking that subscribe button.